Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? What's up, Doug? What's
Oh,
up, Cam? Hey, happy Thursday. Let's go. What's up? What's up? Nice to see you. Super pumped today. Just another great week to talk about growth. Today's all about social learning, something I'm super passionate about. And how do you look at social learning today? What are some social learning systems that you already have in place? Some peer groups that you have in place, some tools that you have in place, and just how you think and show up when you're trying to learn new things. I'm going to share today how I look at that and also some things that we already have designed and built into Growth Day. Just so if you are introducing Growth Day to somebody else, or if you're trying to get more out of the product, there's a couple things that you can do just right off the bat to really help initiate some elevated social learning practices. And then what we also can do is I want to share like what I've learned from working at some of these top companies in the world that are building social learning into their ecosystems as well. From a LinkedIn to Facebook to Envision, Microsoft. I've just been fortunate to work at all these companies, the ones I just named off, and in technology, in product, in design. And what's really fascinating to know what you're capable of when you're growing with other people. So, first off, if this is your first growth group, can I get a message in the chat to say it? Hey, yeah, this is my first growth group. What's up? Good to see you. And just so we can welcome you into this new series. So, every week I'm going live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. And what we're doing is we're talking about specific topics around growth, around how to get the most out of the product, but also this is just my opportunity to share things that I'm learning, also putting it back into the product. If we haven't met yet, my name is Drew Bridewell. I'm head of product and design here at Growth Day. And it's just a privilege and an honor to work on this product, to ship it, to make it incredible for you. And so if you have feedback, if you have questions, this is a great opportunity for you to put it in the chat or just DM me after the growth group and we can talk about it. I'd be really happy and curious to hear your thoughts. So let's start thinking about social learning in general. When you think about social learning, what is the first thing that comes to mind for you today? If you want to go ahead and use the chat, like when you think of social learning, like what is it to you? I'm going to list three things and I put them in the agenda too, so you can just tap over the agenda and look at them. But three big things that I think about that we're going to talk about today. Go ahead and influence. Okay. Thank you, Alita, for sharing that. Three big things that I typically think about with social learning is like just collaboration in general, collaboration to learn new things, to do it with other peers. So you'll notice that growth groups was actually designed for social learning. It was designed in a way for us to bring individuals together that are interested in a specific topic that they want to go deep on. And if they wanted to do it for 30 minutes, if they wanted to do it for an hour, or if they just wanted to do it for 30 minutes with just an audio session or an hour audio session where it's super laser focused, that's what social learning is all about. So you're coming together around a specific agenda based subject, and then you're coming in and you're just going to practice it. So collaboration and peer learning is like the number one thing. The second one is just like communities of practice. If you haven't noticed yet, inside the Growth Day app, there's a community pillar. There's also just this learn pillar, which is how you found this growth group. And when you came into the learn pillar, you probably saw a lot of other topics of growth groups, things that you could join, things that maybe were curious about. Hey, what's this person, Drew Bridewell? What's he talking about when he thinking about social learning? What am I going to get out of this? So you're tapping into a peer group growth group together. So that's another thing. The other thing is there's so many social online learning environments. So I think it's good to talk about those and think about not only which ones you want to participate in, but I want you to think even a little bit more about why you want to participate in certain environments and what do you want to get back out of them. Because tools are great. Tools are so important. We built Growth Day. That's a tool. But there's also thinking about what you wanna get out of this tool. What you put in a lot of effort, you put a lot of energy into something, you wanna be able to get something in return. And you also like maybe learning new insights, maybe learning new skills, maybe learning about people that you didn't know existed before, and you built new relationships and new friendships. Those are all things that can come out of social learning. So super critical, super important. So We're gonna talk about those 3 things. I hope that's interesting for you today. And why are we going to focus on these things? Because we wanna enhance, and again, I put this inside of the agenda so you can just literally copy and paste this into your notes. Enhance learning outcomes. What we've learned from the research, and it's the same thing that I've learned from building and redesigning lynda.com, if you've ever used lynda.com, or if you've ever used LinkedIn Learning, or if you have been using Growth Day and you have gone through a challenge, or you have gone through a growth group, or if you're a pro member, you've gone into our weekly live sessions, which happens on Wednesdays. We just had one yesterday. So when you're inside of these online experiences, you have a stream of information, people sharing tips, tricks, best practices, whatever they know, whatever they learn, they're sharing their point of view with you. And then you have this more on demand way of learning. The on-demand is what we've all been accustomed to. You sign into a product and then you go in and you're like, "I wanna learn how to design a website," or, "I wanna learn how to ship a new product," or something like that. You search for that, right? You just Google it, and then you would go to YouTube, or if you want a little bit more elevated and more professional talk, you might go to LinkedIn Learning. If you wanted to get inspired by some celebrity influencer who is really good at, say, entertainment, you might go to Masterclass. Or if you wanted to see how Steph Curry shoots basketball and how he trains individuals, you would go to Masterclass and check those things out. But the idea about what we're trying to do here at Growth Day is that you can create your own growth groups and you can go off and learn those things and then come back and talk about what it is you're learning through privates or through public growth groups. This is a public growth group right now. The ability to have these sorts of environments where we can go in and learn something, take it back, that's going to enhance your learning outcomes because you're sharing insights of what it is you're doing. And when you learn something together with a peer or a team member or with a partner or somebody that you respect and you care about, when you're learning those things together and you're sharing your insights, what's happening is you're having this back and forth asynchronous like communication and this flow of information. And the more of this flow of information, you start to gain clarity about it, a perspective of something in a different way. So as you learn and share your notes and share your ahas, like the things that really light you up, and you're like, this makes sense to me. That's social learning. And that's actually going to help you learn faster and improve your learning outcomes. The other one is real world relevance. So this is based on what's actually happening in the environment that you're in, this learning environment. You're getting live feedback and acknowledgement about what it is you're doing or what it is you're learning. When you're learning with other people, then you can have that quick, rapid learning insight and you can talk about it. You can communicate about it. Like right now, if I'm talking, you can chat with me about anything that I'm saying. Yes, be careful if you're driving. You could chat about anything that I'm saying right now and you can ask questions about it so that we can go another step deeper. And that real world, like reality based conversation, that's going to increase your social learning outcomes. The third thing is this lifelong learning and adaptability. Social learning systems, they do promote lifelong learning by fostering curiosity, right? You're curious about what other people are learning and what they're doing. You can start to see other perspectives about how they approach certain problems and then how you might adapt to it or how they adapt to it. And just knowing that learning is it's a lifelong journey. It's continuous. There's different levels of every facet of something that you're learning. You can continue to raise your vibration or information of or your experience of what it is that you're trying to learn, and you can get better and better and better. And that's what we're trying to do also and bring that to life here. Now, the biggest difference between some of the tools that I was naming off earlier, like LinkedIn Learning, Masterclass, Udemy, YouTube, all of those experiences, they all are incredible experiences. Like I built and helped design a lot of those experiences. The big thing is that even though you have these watch and learn type of experiences, it's great to do that on demand training. But what levels up your social learning abilities and your outcomes is actually learning with other people that are also passionate like you, that are also ambitious like you, that also want to do it not in years, but they want to do it in days, weeks, maybe months. And the thing is, when you can tap into that sort of community and start learning those things together, you'll start to see advancements like you've never just never seen before. And it's really exciting when you can get into this mojo. So when I was at LinkedIn and Linda, we had this huge project to redesign the entire product, the entire platform. It was really exciting. And I was first tasked to build a desktop application which would allow any of the customers that were using the product to be able to view these courses and this online learning offline. And what we did in the research, we realized that we needed to just rebuild the entire platform. So we ended up taking on that project. But during that process, we had introduced a couple really interesting environments for our members to go in and tap into the learning. And just like you have today, you have notes. One of the big things that we learned with note taking and these online learning abilities is that's like the first tap in, like the first like in critical feature to have be your companion when you're doing online learning. Now, so you have that at your fingertips for all of the courses and all of the online learning that you have inside of the Growth app. That's a really important thing to know because having your notes always be present and be able to have something that you can write down while you're listening or while you're in a growth group or while you're in any other type of online learning experience, it is so important that you're taking down and you're reflecting what it is you're learning and what your takeaways are. Because if you're not taking notes and you're just listening, you could be capturing, if you're a really good listener, you could be capturing everything that I'm saying. But if you can document and write out the things that you're starting to like, just digest the information. Oh, you're just talking about online learning. How do I do this today? What tools do I use today? Maybe you're writing down some of those things in your notes. Now, just by doing that, you're already a step way further ahead than the rest of the public because you're already taking notes. You're already doing that, which is really important. The second part of that, and I'll come to your questions here in a second, is now that you actually have notes, you can tap into those notes at a later time. Just if you're on a Mac or a PC, you can open up a little notes panel, you can start taking notes. But what we've done here is we put them inside the product, inside the platform. One of our big challenges when I was at Linda was we didn't have a source of truth for notes that would be encompassing every single thing in the product. We had to take notes individually for those courses. But one of the big advances here in Growth Day is like they're all in one place. So you can go back through and you can sort through those and find those things. It's super important. And the other element of that is that now that you have those notes documented, that means you can share those notes. You can share those notes in the chat. If you're going back and watching a course, you can share those notes in comments. And then what happens is when you share your insights and your ahas with other people, they start to see how you're thinking about it. And then they can start to learn from you. And then it just starts this network effect of learning. And that again is the power of social learning. So it helps improve the overall community. It helps improve the overall environment. And what we learned through our research was that that is highly infectious. It's highly helpful for somebody to learn something new. And it also just increases the overall like satisfaction of like how you are learning. It's incredibly fun too. So I'm going to take a second to read the comments here and I'll be right back with you. Let's go. Let's check this out. Yeah, it's true. Doug had a comment around like how it's the subject's different depending on what you're learning. I think it's just totally true. I think though, when you come into it and you think about what tool am I going to use to, I want you to think you could use all of them, but I want you to really think about like when you do go into learning environments, do want you to double click into thinking about what you get back from those environments. And if you aren't getting really good support when you go into a new program or a new training ecosystem and you start training and learning and growing, that's a good moment to think about, well, okay, what do I need to do really good social learning in this environment? Because even if it's not growth day, that's okay. Be confident in how you learn with peers and with your team so you know what it is you're learning. Like over the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've been talking about all the different pillars in the Growth Day app. Now you could go back and watch those in the community, but the thing is like when you go in and you're starting to figure out like your growth plan and what you want to do and you're like going through your priorities, you're going through like the things that you're not very confident in and you have a little bit of kryptonite and you're struggling with maybe some fears here or some challenges there or some obstacles here. And when you're working through all of those challenges, you want to make sure that when you do go in to that mindset of social learning, that you have a very clear plan on who you could reach out to get that secondary edge, who has already done it before in the industry, who you can model and visualize and watch. What type of groups are they in? What type of environments are they posting to or connected to? And how can you get it into that like ecosystem so that you can start learning what they've done and you can start accelerating your growth? Because it's not, there's so many things that have already been done. And Brendan talks about this all the time. Like the things that you're going through, somebody else is going through those as well. So if you're open to sharing what your priorities are and your goals and what your challenges are and your struggles and being a little bit more vulnerable when you're talking with people that you maybe don't know very well, but you're sharing the things that you're trying to learn. So you're not divulging too much information, but you're sharing, hey, I'm trying to learn this. This is really important to me. That's a really important thing. And if you don't ever talk about the things that you're trying to grow in or trying to learn in, then you're putting a wall up to your social learning opportunities. And when you're doing that, that can just slow down your growth. Now, I'm just like a fanatic about this growth. I think like even before I got into big tech and I was over at the school in Savannah, Georgia called Savannah College of Art and Design. So I got my BFA in graphic design. And literally the second year of the school, we learned about this online learning platform called lynda.com. So I got a subscription there and they were charging us like, I think 37 bucks a month or 20 something bucks a month for our student discount. And when I got into that, I started seeing, oh my gosh, I just watch all this content and learn and then go practice these things. It's really, it's incredible like that these are available. So then every company that I went to after that, I ended up asking if I could get a subscription to lynda.com. But the idea is like I knew what I wanted to learn and I knew what I wanted to grow in and I knew the environment, the design environment, the product environment I wanted to be in. So just thinking about what are the things, and I want you to write this in your notes. So go over your notes and say, what are the top three things that you want to start learning for the second half of the year? So we have about 15 days left of the first half of the year, like of Q2. I want you to go into your notes and write out three big things, three big learning goals that you have for the next year. So go ahead and take a minute. I'm going to put a minute up on my timer right now. Here, I got a timer. Let me come over here. Timer. 2 minutes and counting. And I want you to go over to your notes and just start. Here, I'm going to start the clock now. Just go ahead and write out three big things that you want to learn today. And then we're going to go into the next step. So go ahead and do that for me. And here, I'll put on some music for you for fun. All right, cool. So just do a little pit stop here. And let me get this, set my timer off the screen. All right, cool. So hope you came up with three big things that you wanted to learn. Now, what I want you to do is take another 2 minutes and I want you to write underneath of those three things that you wanted to learn. I want you to write a couple other bullets of what are 2 to 3 actions. And I know you have three things already up here, right? So you have three bullet things that you maybe are trying to learn for the second half. Now, what I want you to do is write 2 to 3 actions of how you will include social learning into those three learning objectives. So I'll say it one more time. So you got three learning goals for the second half of the year. Now I want you to write 2 to 3 actions that you will take that include social learning for each of those learning outcomes. So what does this mean? This means that you could I'll put up the timer in a second, but an example of this might be like you're going to you're going to attend a couple growth groups on that subject. You're going to host a growth group on those subjects. You're going to research and go reach out to the top 3 influencers or the top 3 experts that you can find on those 3 things that you're trying to learn, and you can learn and grow with them. You could follow them. You could reach out to them on LinkedIn. You could reach out to them if they're on growth day. You can reach out to them there and go ahead and take a moment to really stretch yourself right now. Think of 2 to 3 things that you're going to do action wise for those 3 items. And I'm going to start the clock. Oh, one more time. And I know if you're not into timers, then you can ignore the timers, but let's get 2 minutes on the clock now. And we're going to play a little bit more music to get you going. This next one. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions. All right. All right. Hope you came up with a couple items. Did everybody come up with a couple items? Raise your hand down the purple bar if you came up with some items. Just a little hand raise like this. All right. Cool. Did anybody get stuck with this? And if you don't have any ideas, then I want you to share what you're trying to learn for the second half. And the team, everybody here is going to give you some suggestions of things that you can do. The community is a great place that you can go into the community and write out, I'm learning this and this. And I'd love to learn if there's anybody else in this community that is also passionate about these three things. And I'd love if you could connect me to people that you know that are passionate about these three things. And if you want to round up and do a growth group together, that would be like the fastest way to do it with people that are inside of Growth Day. Now, if you were also wanting to try to do this and you wanted a bigger, wider audience, you could also do that with like just LinkedIn. It's a professional network of people. I would use the community. And I would also just be more open about sharing your learning goals and objectives and maybe some big dreams or goals that you're trying to achieve. And you could post that in the community and you can probably get some really good responses. I would try that. Not everybody's also always in the community. So if you post it like maybe once a month, you could probably get some really interesting people that would maybe be interested in hanging out with you to learn. Great. All right, cool. So I think this is a really great segue. So I hope you have some, of course, you have three or two to three learning goals and objectives already for H2. So that's already a win for today. The second win that you have is the actions that you can take to start learning those things with peers and other people. Now, the other thing that I want to introduce to you is just some common social learning practices. Okay. So the first one that I'm sharing with you already is that you're in a community of practice right now. You're in growth day. You're in a growth group. Now, growth groups were designed for this exact thing. Now, I'm just talking about social learning in general, right? Imagine, and I do this every week too, where I'm talking about something that I've been training my entire like career on 16 years on product building and design building and performance management and talent direction and how to build incredible culture. Like those are things that like I really like just get geeked out on and I just love doing that because I love people and I love seeing them grow and I love seeing them create just the things that they just love to like things they love to do. So I want to challenge you to think about the area right now that you maybe have something that you could give back to a community or back to Growth Day or back to, maybe it's your alumni of your university, or maybe it's like your son or your wife or your kids' team or whatever they're doing. Think about something you can contribute back to your peer groups and to your other environments where you can teach things, where you can share your insights, where you can share your learnings. You don't have to have a book that you've written. You could just come together and share your insights, share things and learn and grow together. Now, that's what social learning is all about. It's not about these like walls of this person's really popular in this and I can't reach out to them and do this. We're all equals. Like we're all people. Like we can all learn together. Like it's completely fine. So you have to find your communities and your confidence in how to practice these things and just knowing, hey, I'm going to be maybe a beginner at something and I have the ability to learn every day, 1% and get better and better, 1% every single day till I can get to the ambition or the dream or the desire that I had in mind when I started learning these things. I think that's just super important. And other things about community of practice is like thinking about like when you knowledge exchange information, this is really important product and design. When you're sharing information back and forth with somebody about something you learned, they might have a completely different learning experience than what you had when you maybe took it in or you shared it. And I was just in a coaching call yesterday and I was talking to one of my students and he's going through some big challenges at work, just like we all do, right? We all have big challenges that we go through. But the thing was, the way that he was looking at it was through like just one, I guess, like one perspective, one view. So what happened was he ended up going into this realm where for a couple weeks he wasn't reaching out and asking for help and getting support. Like he almost went inside it like maybe a block. He was blocked. Now, social learning can also dramatically help with being unblocked and unlocking that kind of that tight feeling that you might have when you feel like, oh, I don't know where to start. I'm feel blocked. Like that's when you tap into the network. That's when you tap into your community. That's when you tap into that practice of being a little vulnerable, but also being yourself, just ask for help and ask for support, or just use all these tools that we have at our fingertips these days to really just get the answers that we need. You can use Chat GPT to ask questions and get specific responses. You can also use good old fashioned Google. You can also go into the community inside of Growth Day and just ask the questions if it's around personal development. So if you have more suggestions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So we're learning about our practices. So we talked about like social learning, how you can get after it and think about how you get a lot of value at it. What are some things right now that stop you from reaching out to people or that stop you from reaching kind of a new way of connecting with people and like learning with people? What's something that blocks you from doing that today? Like for any of the three things that you wrote down, like the actions you were going to take or the three learning goals and objectives that you had, what are some things that are getting in your way right now to actually accelerating that? I'd love to hear it in the chat. Go for it. So maybe I don't have enough time. I don't have a schedule. I don't know who to go to. What are some things that you're struggling with right now? I'd love to hear it in the chat. If you're feeling open to sharing, it's a safe space here, it's growth group. And I would love to hear what you're thinking. There. So take some time to write. What are some things that could block us from doing the homework, doing the work? I pinned them to the chat over here on the right side. What are some things that stop you, that block you? If you're putting something out on the internet, you don't want to be broadcasted and sold to if you're not looking for that. If you're just looking for peer groups, I totally get what you're saying. That happens a lot on social media. LinkedIn, even on LinkedIn, you post something about trying to hire engineers. I know my talent director here that's on the call, Judy would be like, if I posted something, I'm going to get like 15 people asking, saying that they have an engineer somewhere or an engineering team that could take over this project. But we're really just looking for a full-time hire. We're not looking for an whole agency to do this thing. So that happens all the time in social media. So you got to be really specific about it, but you got to also carve through all the noise, which tends to happen. Let's see here. So clarity on a specific goal, okay, on your goal. Got it. So clarity on a specific goal that is getting in your way to achieving. So then it might be like getting even more clarity. So, what are some ways to build more clarity inside the Growth Day app? I'm just going to call out a couple of options just to help get the ball rolling here for the individuals that talked about clarity and what to ask. So, what I typically do around this when I'm trying to just build clarity for any project, because like in product and design, this is probably really relevant for everybody here. Is there's uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty about, well, I think I need to learn this and I think I need to move this forward, but I need to get more clarity about it. There's a couple practices that we use in product design, like one of them is called the 5 whys. So, if I'm talking to my friend or say I'm not open or I don't wanna share this yet with my team or my friend or my family or whoever, I can go to the mirror. I literally go to the mirror. You can go to the mirror and just be like, "Hey, Drew, why do you want to last week I talked about a big conference that I want to do, and I also have this vision of doing like a reality show because I like reality shows that show the practice of executing an objective and a thing over a period of time. Chef Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay just came out with a new show called Food Stars. I really like that show because it's taking these talented individuals who run their own businesses and they're going through this process of they have challenges, they have objectives, and then they have results. And then they measure those results, and then the winner gets to keep moving on. And the person who didn't do so well, they get let go from the team. And I like these shows, and I have this vision of creating one of those for design and product. But the thing is, there's a lot of questions that I don't yet know. So I could go to the mirror and I could be like, Drew, why do you want to create this reality show? Okay, why do I want to create it? I want to create it because I love the execution of a show and the connection of all the relationships and people that could learn from this experience. Okay. Why is that important to you, Drew? That's important to me because I like seeing people grow and develop, and I like documenting those things on video camera. Okay, Drew, why do you like documenting those things? Okay, so that this information can be passed on from generation to generation, and then other people can learn from the mistakes and the challenges. And okay, great. Why is that important? I want to connect more people. I want to connect to people trying to learn. So you can keep asking those five whys until you get massive amount of clarity. And you could do that for pretty much anything. And that's just like one design tactic that we have. You can also go into the clarity challenge that Brennan created, the clarity challenge, go through his framework for asking questions, the prompts inside of the journal, and he's got training. And that's a free challenge. So you could go through that challenge, clarity challenge. You can also go to the high performance habit builder course in the product, go to Learn Pillar, the top recommended course that we have. It's in the banner. And you can go to that clarity chapter and go through the 8 videos about clarity, build some more clarity there. And then you could also, another clarity builder is like writing out your priorities, writing out your kryptonite, writing out your big dreams and goals, and to just look at those things. Have them in front of you. I like write things, and I have a bunch of things like in front of me, like just notes and things that I'm sketching and like just notepads. I write these things so I can look at them. It helps me build clarity for some of the things that I'm working on. I have these cards. Like I have this card in front of me that just says, love the journey, the trek, pave the path ahead. This is just a reminder for me to move through some of the things that I'm going through right now in my life, and for me just to remember to like love the journey. This is like another way for you to build clarity around it, what it is that you're going through. So there's one that Helen had said, priorities for overwhelming tasks and mini goals and time management. So yeah, that's like something that can slow you down, that can block you from accomplishing some of those big goals that you have for H2. But just remember, when you have big overwhelming tasks, it might mean that you need to break down that task into a smaller task. Let me actually share my screen and show you a visualization of that, because there's just some things that like, let me stop. Okay. So y'all should be able to see my screen. So I'm going to zoom out right here. And like one of these big practices that when you have a project or something, you're like, this is the most important thing. This project number one, it's the most important thing I want to accomplish today. I want to get this thing going. And then you break down that project. And maybe in that project, you have like an A to J, and maybe you don't even have A to J. Maybe you just have like A and B priorities, like A and B things that you need to do. Okay. But when you have these two important things, first, you gotta this is a big task that you have, a big learning goal, a big project, a big thing that you want, break it down into a small chunk, something digestible, something that you can do maybe in a day, maybe in a week. If it's too big, if it's like a month project, you might want to break it down even smaller if you're not used to taking on monthly projects. So after you get these things, bring this A over. And you can take a screenshot of this, Helen, if you want. These are all the things like these are like this is my system and ingredients, but I want you to think about, okay, what is the purpose of this project? Because if you have a little purpose, then you have a little necessity. If you have a little necessity, then you can have a little drive from the belly of like, why is this important? I need to learn this right now because it's going to help me execute better in my work. It's going to help me be a better collaborator, a better facilitator, a better communicator. It's going to help me just be better. So when you got that purpose, connect it to that big why, connect those big whys to your necessity, which is you're so necessary in your body to be able to go and accomplish this thing, to do this thing. Then you step back a little bit and be like, what do I need? I know I want to do this and I know why it's important. But now I need to know, what do I need and what problem am I trying to solve that's going to help me move forward? It might be like, oh, I need to learn this. I need to learn this because I can't do my job without this new skill. Then you could set some goals, some milestones around that specifically. Okay, my first learning objective for today is going to be that I want to do some research about the 5 areas that I can improve or learn about in this specific topic. I'm going to go reach out to community. I mean, maybe go ask Chat GPT like a question about it so I can get more clarity. Where should I start first? You can ask all sorts of questions to Chat GPT. And then you can also just to remove all the noise. It's really accurate and it's really helpful. You can go in and ask those questions. It's just go to OpenAI forward slash GPT or just Google it and you can go in and try it. So you can write down the big goals for it. Break it down, break down that big goal into 4 milestones or break down those 4 milestones into 4 tasks. Just break down the things as much as you possibly can. Then you would go into prioritizing that growth. When are you going to start learning and growing and developing with people? When I talk about practices, that's really along the lines of, and let me go to my rhythm sheet. My rhythm sheet is like how I think about like my Monday through Sunday. So when you are maybe like for our growth day events, like Wednesdays are huge days for us to learn in our Wednesday workshops. So we're training and executing, and then we're getting a little coaching. And this is a great day for advancing learning. But you might need a day for practice. You might need a day to train and execute. You might need a day on Mondays at the beginning of the week to like really set priorities up so that you know what you're doing for the whole entire week. Because just coming into a product or any of the tools that I listed earlier and just not having aim for where you can focus and where you can step in and be the best version of yourself, you'll have slower growth. But if you can really aim and get these areas of focus di- dialed in and nailed down, this is where you're gonna try. Then you can start having a lot more prolific output during the week, and that's what Brendan talks about too a lot, like in his coaching. Prolific output. You can get prolific output by understanding your purpose, your big why, your priorities, your goals, like the when you're going to do things. And then you can keep breaking those things down. Like if we back to your priorities. And then you get into these other elements of how do I design this or how do I craft this, whatever thing that you've got to do? How do I communicate or collaborate with other people? You can practice that inside of growth groups. How do you execute? And then how do you measure success so you know that you're doing? And of course, how are you bringing joy into your overall experience? So these are just some things that I tend to like train on and so practices and practices. So I just want to make sure that when you're thinking about big challenges, break them down, simplify them. Hope that's helpful. We talked about communities of practice. We talked about the other opportunities and other online learning platforms that are out there. I'd love to challenge all of you right now to think about those three big things that you want to learn the second half of the year and thinking about how you're going to step up your game for how you architect your weekly rhythms, your weekly rhythm, that Monday through Sunday. You wake up, you're doing your actions, you're taking care of your wellness, you're taking care of everything that you need to do, but you're also getting things done, bringing the joy, having a good time, executing. What is that going to be looking like? What are some things you might need to change from your current schedule? What are some things that you might need to remove from your current schedule? What are some things that you might need to add to your current schedule to really step up your game? Let's think about it because a lot of times where I see the most struggle in a lot of the executor, like the individual contributors that I know and I coach, they have struggles and challenges with their schedule because they're letting everybody else tell them what's most important and they didn't do the planning, they didn't do the scheduling. So now they're at the whims of everybody else versus thinking about what they want, what they need, what they desire, what their priorities are, their life priorities are, what their goals are, what their ambition is, tying it all together and then coming into a tool like this, putting it, writing it down in your plan, taking it from your plan and setting reminders in your plan so that you can go in and start taking action and then measuring how you're doing across the days, weeks, and months with life scores, and then journaling about how you're winning or how you're learning and reflecting about some of the challenges in your life or about the things that are going really well in your life. That's what the journal is all about. And when you need that motivation, you can go listen to that Daily Fire. If you need that Monday motivation, if you're an all access member, then you get access to Ed My Let's training on Mondays, which is pretty cool. It's on the dashboard. So think about this. Having the ability to write things down to and then share them back with people is just such a powerful thing. So I have this little card that says rhythms. And then on the other side of this, it says play to the beat of your drum and tempo, not to others around you. Now, I know, oh, my cat was about to come over here. I know that when you're playing, if you're a drummer or instrument, or I'm like big into rhythms and team and the movement and the energy of what I'm feeling and what I'm getting after every day. In my career, if I was to play at the other people around me and the drum beat that they're doing, maybe the tempo is super slow, boom. And I think about when I started playing to my own beat, like goofy, I like to have fun. I like to be in the woods. I like to run. I like to just draw. I like to just write. And when I'm at my own rhythm and I'm beating, the drums to like how I feel and what I do, life feels just a lot smoother. So I also want to challenge you in the second half of the year when you're thinking about the things you want to learn, when you're thinking about the things you want to grow in, be sure that you're being authentic to yourself and what it is that you want, what it is that you need, what it is that you desire. Take care of yourself the second half. Have some fun the second half. We're about to do some 360 reviews and reflections this for my team this over the next 2 weeks. And I'm just telling my team, think about 3 areas of growth that you can work towards to that align to the company's values and our mission and what we're trying to do. So I know that you're not all like on my team, but we're in a growth group today. So I want you to challenge you to think about 2 or 3 accomplishments that you had in the first half of the year. 2 to 3 accomplishments. But 2 to 3 of the things that you did this first half that you're proud of, that you feel like it was an accomplishment, that you feel like, I feel pretty good about this. I want you to write those things out. You can go to your goals in the profile, write those 3 things in as individual line items, and then just check them. If you completed it, check it. Just check it off and say when you did it. And I want you to feel like soak into that win, soak into that growth, soak into that, like you did it. You accomplished these 3 things. Then I want you to think about 2 to 3 growth areas for the second half. When we talked about those 3 big things you want to learn, also tie together the 2 to 3 things that you want to accomplish for this second half, like growth areas, things you want to grow in. Maybe it's communication, maybe it's collaboration, maybe it's parenting, execution, whatever it is. Get real specific about what it is that you're going to grow in this year, and then we'll work on it every week. You got Wednesday workshops, you got my Thursday sessions, and we're just going to turn up the nozzle. This is ultra year, so let's get it going. Meeting other people in the network, that's so amazing. It's just going to be great connections. Yeah, y'all, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. And definitely check out Kim's growth groups. And if you see other people that attended this growth group that are hosting growth groups, go check them out. Go experience some of these other growth groups. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep challenging yourself. And if you have any questions about the Growth Day app, please feel free to reach out to me. Join me in the next. Hey, what's up? Real quick here. I just wanted to thank you for watching this growth group. I do growth groups every single week on Thursdays. And I just want to invite you to my next upcoming growth group. You can go to growthday.com, sign up for any free or paid subscription, and you can come and join my growth groups on a weekly basis. Now, I'm teaching things about products. I'm teaching things about design. I'm also sharing the tips, tricks, and best practices on how to get the most out of the Growth Day app. So I can't wait to see you there, and have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.